Hello and welcome to another Soil Shepherds video. My initial goal was to review this book, How to Grow Wildflowers and Wild Shrubs and Trees in Your Own Garden, which was written by Hal Bruce and published in 1998. As I was reading the book, I did a quick search for other books written by Hal Bruce, and I discovered this book has a long history. It was initially published as Winterthur in Bloom in 1968 and published again in 1969 as The Gardens of Winterthur in All Seasons. It was then published as How to Grow Wildflowers in 1976, and a republished Winterthur in Bloom was released in 1986. Lastly is this book, which was published in 1998. I'm not surprised this book has been published using different names because it's such a great book. It did, however, get me thinking, how many books were written about Winterthur gardens? I decided to track down all the books and to see which books are best in show. I was able to find a total of 11 books that focus on Winterthur's gardens, including the original 5 Hal Bruce books on the top and the 6 other books at the bottom. To complete this review, I purchased these 7 books. I'll talk more about these in a minute, but I want to start by covering the 4 books I did not purchase. As I mentioned, my collection started with the 1998 print of How to Grow Wildflowers, so I did not purchase the earlier 1976 version. I also decided to have one copy of Winterthur in Bloom, so I did not purchase the original version, published in 1968. I felt 2 Hal Bruce copies would be sufficient for the review, so I did not purchase The Gardens of Winterthur in All Seasons. This leaves The Winterthur Garden, written by Denise Magnani, which was printed in 1995 and 2004. I have the 1995 print, so I did not purchase the 2004 special edition or second edition. Next, let's shift our attention to 3 of the 7 books I purchased which do not contain specific plant information. The first book is Enchanted Woods, a fairy tale garden at Winterthur, which is written solely about the fairy garden. I love the fairy garden when visiting in person, but this book is too high level and does not discuss the plants or design in detail, so if you're looking for plant content, then I do not recommend this book. Next, Winterthur Museum and Gardens focuses more on the museum and not the gardens. If you're interested in the museum, then you may want to consider this book, but we have better options for plant content. The last book with limited plant information is The 12 Months of Flowers. Initially, I was disappointed because this book is really a planner to keep track of special recurring dates, so there is no content outside of the artwork. However, I must say I did find myself picking up this book several times looking at the illustrations. I have to admit the artwork is amazing. All the drawings are hand-drawn in England by John Bowles in the 18th century. The writing can be hard to read, and most of the plants are non-native, but if you appreciate flower paintings, then you should consider purchasing this book. All 12 pictures can be removed and framed, making for great artwork. Add in the fact I was able to purchase this book for $6, including shipping, and I consider this a steal. This leaves 4 books. Next, I compare the 2 Hal Bruce books I purchased. Obvious differences, if you're holding the books, is their size difference, which is not to scale on the screen. How to Grow Wildflowers measures 8.5 inches tall by 7.5 inches wide and contains 292 pages, which is much smaller than the Winterthur in Bloom reprint, which measures 11 inches tall by 8.5 inches wide with 196 pages. Physical differences aside, the content is pretty similar, but there are 3 notable differences. First is the foreword at the beginning. Charles Eliot wrote the foreword in 1998 for How to Grow Wildflowers, while Henry Francis DuPont wrote the foreword for Winterthur in Bloom. I prefer Charles Eliot's foreword, which is more robust and provides a great background on Hal Bruce, which I found helpful. The second difference is the illustrations. How to Grow Wildflowers includes hand drawings like this one, while Winterthur in Bloom includes photos in black and white and also has photos in color. Lastly, there are some minor content differences that make one book Winterthur specific, while the other book has specific content for the home gardener. For example, Winterthur in Bloom includes a garden map and a history of the gardens written by C. Gordon Tyrrell at the start of the book. It also has an author's note at the back of the book. In How to Grow Wildflowers, the author's note is moved to the front of the book, and there are 2 additional chapters including Labrador to Georgia, Florida to New Jersey, and Planting Problem Gardens. I'm not going to give away the content of these chapters, but I will say they are welcomed additions. For me, it comes down to content, and I prefer the extra chapters from Hal Bruce. The pictures in Winterthur in Bloom are nice, but Hal is so passionate and descriptive that I don't miss the pictures. This brings me to the final 3 books. I'm keeping How to Grow Wildflowers on the list because I did a quick comparison and I want to add an actual review. Our other 2 books are Color in Your Garden and The Winterthur Garden. All 3 of these books are well written and very entertaining, with one key disclosure. If you are solely interested in native plants and you find anything non-native offensive, then these books are not for you. There is no avoiding the use of non-natives at Winterthur, and so they are included in the books. Okay, up first, I'll start with How to Grow Wildflowers, which is for the plant lover, period. This book doesn't feature flashy pictures inside or on the cover. It also doesn't have a great title. I'm sorry, it's just too long and has added 3 minutes to this video. Okay, these things do not matter because it has Hal Bruce's words. Hal Bruce is a Delaware native who graduated and taught at the University of Delaware and worked at Winterthur as a taxonomist. I believe Hal's goal with this book was to share his love and knowledge of plants with everyone. Mission accomplished. I learned loads from reading this book, and I fully recommend this book to other plant lovers. Next is Color in Your Garden, which is written by Ruth N. Joyce, who has been associated with Winterthur Gardens for over 20 years. This book delivers on its title. It's full of color, including great pictures and the modern layout you expect from a gardening book. The content is arranged seasonally with easy-to-find plant information. If you're looking for a more structured book where you can easily jump around to find specific plant information, including color photographs, then this book is for you. Lastly is The Winterthur Garden, written by Denise Magnani. This book focuses more on the history of the gardens by providing a timeline of activities. I especially love the 12 design principles, and there are great photos throughout. Not just photos of the gardens, but also of the garden design in the earlier days. If you want to learn more about the design, construction, and timeline of Winterthur Gardens, then this book is for you. This concludes the longest book review ever. I really appreciate you watching, and I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment and check out our other regenerative landscaping videos.